Hi guys, I'm Davina.
And I'm Ishaan, and welcome back to episode 5 of Round the Wall.
The newest and hottest place to hear us talk all things football. Now, we've been gone for a little while, but hopefully you've been keeping up to date with our posts and interacting with all of our content. We've been posting some transfer roundups. We made videos for every single club in the Premier League and ranked them out of 10. So please go check them out if you haven't already.
And you're probably wondering the change in location. We are in a new studio. It's a bit cozier and comfier, so excited to shoot from here and hopefully in future weeks as well. To get started today, we've got a lot of stuff to cover. We have been gone for a little while, but don't worry, we're going to do our best opportunity to cover everything that's happened. Starting with the weekend's Premier League action. Some crazy games. I would argue it's probably been the best weekend of the Premier League so far.
So far, I agree, yeah.
Some crazy finishes, some big teams losing.
Yeah, a weekend of last minute goals.
Yes,
yeah.
That's probably the best way to describe it. So let's start with Wolves versus Liverpool. So 3-1, Davina, any thoughts?
I think you started the half pretty badly, and I was a bit like, whoa, Wolves, you got this in your locker, and then I just think, I've said it before and I'll say it again, like, Pedro Neto, what a baller. I've been saying it again and again, like, if Son were to ever leave us, he would fit like right into Tottenham. Like, I love him as a player, but Liverpool, brilliant recovery.
Both not prolific. Both
not prolific. We're going to start the Sonny slander from now. We're like 2 minutes into recording.
He did score a hat-trick, but they both did have... I don't think Neto scored all of last season.
No. Yeah, well, okay, fine. Last season they were comparable. But yeah, okay. I might hold back on my Liverpool praise now. Yeah, I think brilliant game. And yeah, Liverpool, good as always. And it was nice to see Robertson score. I think that was his what?
First goal since the last day of the 21-22 season, which was also against Wolves.
Did he score, I don't know if this stat is right, but did he score in his 200th Premier League
game for Liverpool? Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, nice to see Liverpool joining us at the top of the table. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I think on this one, like you said, slow start from Liverpool, but honestly, we had so many South Americans back from the international break. McAllister, Diaz, and just in generally people coming back from all over the world. We have injuries, like we were starting Jarell Kunsa, like he had a really good game. It was his first start, missing Trent, missing Van Dijk. So all in all, yeah, we had a poor first half, and honestly Matheus Cunha, one I picked out to not have a great season, missed an absolute sitter after some excellent work by Neto. But like after that, we really dug deep, and it was like a really, those hard fought wins. And then we ended up looking quite comfortable, but I was really happy with that. And
yeah, I think the 3-1 scoreline flattered Liverpool quite a bit. Like, I feel like...
I think 2-1 would have been fair. Like, I think we deserved to win, but I'm not complaining. It was a good game. I was really happy. And yeah, like you said, we're joint. I think we're going under the radar, low-key.
Yeah, there's a couple teams on 13 points. I mean,
it's like us, you, Arsenal, and then City top.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think we're going under the radar, which I don't mind. And we've got so many players to come back, so I'm excited to see what happens.
And what I've noticed a little bit, do you think Salah's role in Liverpool is changing?
It's not to the same extent it did last season, because there was a period beginning of last season where he was literally put out well on the touchline like a winger, and like, which was stupid. So I don't think it's that extreme. I think it's generally just because we now actually have a midfield to supply the attack, rather than just going through Salah, like who has to kind of create on his own. Like the goals are being shared more, so Salah's having to share less of the burden, but he's still prolific in terms of his assisting. And he's still scored a few this season. So I don't think his role has changed, it's just that the load is being distributed more equally, so you're not seeing his name flash up as much in terms of goal scoring.
I wonder how that will affect him though, because a lot of goal scorers and like prolific goal scorers, like you said, don't really come out and say like, I want to be the Golden Boot winner. And Salah's been pretty vocal that he wants to achieve like personal stuff as well as like as a team award as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like...
You say that though, but then he still has scored against... he scored against Chelsea opening day. I don't know how many he's got 2 or 3 this season already. So again, he goes under the radar.
That's what I mean,
he's not scoring, but he is still scoring. I think he's setting the record now in terms of like a goal or an assist in terms of goal contributions. It's like 10 plus games now, which is just crazy. He's a phenom. Relates to my latest start bench sell, which I've got ready for you. Crazy finishes. We'll start with one, Villa Palace. Crazy game. 3-1 Villa. I think Palace were up till the 86th minute.
Yeah, so the goals came in the 87th and then 97th minute. Oh.
Yeah.
I love seeing like last minute limbs.
Yeah.
I think the Premier League is like unreal for that. And yeah, Villa seeing off Palace. Didn't know how Palace were going to do before the season, but I think there's things to be positive about again with their performances. I mean, they've got some brilliant players. I mean, Eze, unreal. Like, it's just, yeah, the Villa hype before the season started was insane. I just think they need to live up to that a little bit more and not have to wait until the last minute to come back.
Yeah, but it's a sign of a good team. And I said it, I think you asked me on one of our earlier episodes about after they got drubbed by Newcastle,
Yeah.
like, is Villa's hype just completely like nonsensical? Like, are they going to even do it? And I said, yeah, they probably will. Like, they still got a good manager, like really good players. And I think they're proving it. Like, that takes character to win like that in the last minute like that. So exciting times, and like you said, massive limbs at Villa Park. I'm excited to talk about this one. United 1, Brighton 3. Where do we start with Man United?
Oh, do you know what? I've spoken to a lot of United fans over this weekend and I feel really sorry for them. I just don't understand what is going wrong with that club. It's just, okay, every single right winger they have, mudded. Like, absolutely useless to them, on the pitch and off the pitch. Yeah? That's the only way you can put it. United, your right wingers are all mudded. Then, you know, we have to give credit to Brighton. Their midfield was just unreal. They got the ball from the centre of play to their wingers so easily, and United just looked completely lost. I mean, this is the first defeat at Old Trafford since the opening day of last season,
which was to Brighton.
Yes, and they've lost 3 out of their first 5 games ever in the Premier League era for them. For
Premier League era. Yeah.
For United.
Yeah,
and it's just. It's a joke, man. I feel really bad for United. What do you think's going wrong there?
I don't feel bad for them at all, because like, this is not even from me, like Liverpool, because if you're a club coming into it and you're like, you know what, like, we don't know how we're doing that, we don't know if we're going to do that well or whatnot, they come in with such a fat ego every single season. And then this season, like, Onana as good as Alisson apparently, like Mason Mount, who's the third signing, isn't it? Højlund. Like, and apparently, like, they addressed all of the supposed weaknesses of the squad, and now they've got those players in. Fair enough, Mount's injured, but then now they've diverted the attention to Casemiro, who's meant to be the best CDM in the world last year. He looks absolutely shot in the legs. Like, he's walking around, like, slumbering around, like a lazy player, and then it just looks so disorganized. There was that Brighton amazing team goal that started from the keeper. But United just got sliced through. I think the midfield imbalance is one thing for sure, especially when you're having to start like McTominay with Casemiro. Like, what is going on there? But I just feel like I was speaking to my friend about this earlier. United, every time a manager comes in, they start well. That first season, like the first Mourinho season was class. Like, they won the Europa League. Carabao Cup, finished like second in the league. Like, under Ole, they hit a peak of like second in the league. But then they all just merge into this really like just slow, languid style that they just like genuinely, like, if you replaced each of those players with like the older Man U kids, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference in the style of play. And I don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of, they go Glazers out. Yeah, I'm sure that's having an impact on it. That is come top down, like just the general like aura around the club. But there's just something rotten there. Like, and it's just a graveyard for players at the moment. Like the Sancho stuff,
being disciplined off the pitch. Yeah,
it looks like he was one of the. We forget how good Sancho was at Dortmund. He was one of the best players in the world. Like I saw a tweet, like there was a Champions League game between Dortmund and PSG. And Sancho was being compared to Mbappe at one point.
Yeah.
And now look at him. He looks like he's going to be off in January. And then they're going to cry out for another right winger, even though they've got £100 million one there as well, who's dealing with his own off the pitch stuff. Another one, Getafe. Like, I think it's just a combination of like poor recruitment in the sense that it feels like the players are very much signed at the whim of the manager.
Yeah.
And that manager then is only given 2 or 3 seasons. And then the next manager has to deal with someone who they don't want, rather than like a kind of a structure like Prime Liverpool had, where it was like a sporting director dictating it. So it wasn't manager based. And then I think there's just a genuine like the off the field stuff is just impacting them.
Yeah, just Ten Hag seems to only want players that he's worked with before as well.
Yeah, like
it's just a joke. Like none of his signings have made proper sense. And the thing is, like, I don't know if you saw his press conference after the game. The guy looks lost. Like if you're losing your marbles in a press conference, that's when you know like there's something seriously wrong there. And I was just trying to pull up their current absentee 11. They've got a whole 11, which is injured. They've got Tom Heaton, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Shaw, Malacia, Amrabat, Mount, Mainu, Amad Diallo, Anthony and Sancho all out. And I know a lot of United fans...
Anthony and Sancho aren't in because of injury.
Yeah, just
they're in
off field. And then a lot of United fans are basically saying like, oh, we've got this injury crisis, Which out of these players would you put into the current United team and their team is completely transformed? None of them.
100%. Bar like Amrabat and Mount, who obviously are new signings, you can't argue. All of them have had their time. They've been there for years. And with Mount, we've seen early doors, that promising. It's not going to make a massive difference. Maybe Amrabat, but still, it just looks a bit just disjointed. And I don't know whether they're going to go from here, to be honest.
Neither. Very concerning.
Now your time to shine. Spurs and Sheffield United, you're at the game.
I was at the game and I've got a bruise on my left leg because when Kulusevski's winner went in, I like nearly flew 4 rows down because Ange Postecoglou. Everyone laughed at me when I said that Ange was cooking in our first ever episode. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't expect a lot out of this season, right? Like we've tried these prolific Galactico managers in the past and it hasn't worked. We went a different way. We've got Ange. The way that he comes across in press conferences, in interviews, I think even rival fans are struggling to say a bad word about him. The way that he's managed sort of like Richarlison's episode that he had, he had 2 VAR goals ruled out for VAR. He's obviously been going through something and he came out and spoke out against it. And then obviously Postecoglou came out and spoke in support of it. So that's really, really positive. And the way that Ange has got Tottenham playing, free-flowing, attacking football, we are here. We've got our Tottenham back. And I just think there's something not so Spursy about Tottenham this season. That game was ultimate Barclays football. Like, when you think about prime Premier League, that is what that game reminded me of. Credit to Sheffield, although do want to highlight all of their time wasting. That was not funny. But the subs that I'm going on a bit of a monologue here. The subs that Ange Postecoglou made, bringing on Højbjerg, Brennan Johnson looking like an absolute shining star when he came on. I know he got a goal ruled off offside. Brennan Johnson, great. Bringing on Perisic, great. I'm loving Ange Ball. Got my little kangaroo here.
Oh, no.
I'm absolutely loving it. Got my safari hat that I was rocking around Tottenham in on Saturday. And I'm absolutely loving it. We're sitting pretty in second, 13 points, 1-4, drawn 1, scoring 2+ goals in every single game, 2 or more goals in every single game. I'm impressed. Your thoughts?
I think... No, I echo everything you said in the sense that breath of fresh air, and I can't lie, I do really like your manager, the vibe he's brought, attractive football, and again, like we talked about the resiliency early on to win like from behind like that, so that takes some balls. I'm just you've covered all the good stuff, so I'll give a bit of the opposite side, not really opposite, just what did you think about this whole time with, because Paul Heckingbottom seemed to think that the referees were a disgrace against Sheffield United rather than the other way around.
I think the referees were a disgrace, but I don't think it was more biased towards one team than the other. We saw Foderingham handle the ball outside of the penalty area.
But he got given as a free kick though.
He got given as a free kick, but shouldn't be a yellow. I know, I was looking up the rules. It could only be a red if it denies a goal scoring opportunity.
Like what Pope did last season.
we needed a yellow there. And then there was a Maddison penalty shout as well, not given. And there was just Sheffield United players. I understand coming up from the Championship, and you might want to see out a game when you're 1-0 up or you're drawing against a big six side.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's good sportsmanship at all. Going down with a cramp every area of the pitch. That's why, I mean, Sheffield United fans have been furious on Twitter that we had 12 minutes added on in the second half. I think that was...
I don't think it's an issue that 12 minutes were added on. That time, especially with these new rules, the time that is missed should be added on 100%.
100%.
But what I agreed with him on was that the referee cannot be dictating to the Sheffield United manager basically like how to play the game in terms of like, oh, we're going to make sure you don't play it short next time or kick it long, that type of thing. At the end of the day, Sheffield United everyone's tipped them to go back down. They've got one of the smallest budget. They lost two of their best players. Like at the end of the day, like there has to be, the small sides have something to like kind of equate them to the bigger teams, and Tottenham are a big six side. So I don't agree. I agree with him on that, but I agree with your point that the time should be added back on, but the referee shouldn't be overstepping the line in that sense, I feel.
Yeah, you know what? It speaks to what we've spoken about earlier on in the few other episodes before about the poor standards of refereeing in the Premier League. I mean, they just look absolutely clueless. And then, like I'm saying about the Maddison penalty shout, like it went to VAR and absolutely everyone that I know was like, that should have been a pen. And it was given earlier in like a Brentford game. It's been given, like softer penalties have been given than that. So they just need to be a little bit more consistent with what they're giving as a pen and what they're not giving as a pen.
Yeah. But I think I was just looking at the article now. It's like exactly that, overreaching with the demands about the restart of play. Like they shouldn't, like, the time's going to be added back on. Just don't, if it's going to be added back on, you've got no reason, then give out a yellow or whatever, but don't try and dictate how a smaller team is going to play. But yeah, I would say we'll cover it later on when we cover the North London derby. But now the next question is with Spurs is, can they, how do they perform in a big game? And I'm not talking United, because look, anyone and their uncle.
I think
can
the North
beat
London
United
derby, the North London derby this weekend.
It's probably the most excited I am going to be for that in a while. But we'll cover it. We'll cover a few other fixtures first, and then we'll get around to that. We'll slowly touch on the other big sides that play: City, Arsenal, Chelsea. City, I think we both wanted to kind of touch on the same thing there. Jeremy Doku. Yeah,
what a player. And I think, is he kind of like a Mahrez replacement?
I touched on it in my transfer clip, if you guys didn't have the chance to watch that. He is a Mahrez replacement in terms of that position.
Yeah.
I mean, he can play off the right or the left. He played off the left on the weekend, where obviously Mahrez is predominantly off the right. But their styles very much differ. He's more of a throwback to that direct wing approach like we saw with Sterling and Sane, which is scary. And that's like a proper winger, right? And usually these wingers take a season or maybe a bit longer to bed in, at least like with the likes of like Grealish and whoever. But he has hit the ground running. He was by far their best player. And even apart from the goal, like he was just constantly, like he had like Kufau on, it was cooking him all game.
Ropes, yeah. And I think even Pep said in his post-match interview, like, I didn't expect him to be that good this early on. And when your manager's like singling you out that you've played that well, speaks wonders. Unreal signing for them.
It shows the contrast, because he's going like, that is a winger about him, and then Nunes on the other chance. Do you hear what Pep said about him?
No, what did he say?
He was like, he needs to work on his first touch. That is a violation.
Cry in a corner.
But that shows like Pep's thing is genuine. He's not just saying it for the sake of it. Like he's going to call you out if you're doing not well, and if he's going to gas you up if you're doing well, which he is. Then Chelsea, another lack of a win against Bournemouth.
I just think Mauricio Pochettino looks lost. Let's talk about the Chelsea team for a second. Like, they had 6 players on their bench who had never played in the Premier League. I was looking at their bench and I was like, this is a football manager generated team. Like, I have no idea who these players are. And I watch a lot of football, like other leagues, Championship. Like, I keep up to date with that. And I was like, I don't know who you are. And I'm not saying that as like a Danny Rose, I have to Google every player. Like, it's genuinely, it's just a mess. Like, signing 16 players in one season, not knowing which player plays in which position the best. It's just like kids running around like, oh, you've not got a position, just go and do what you want. That's what it looks like by watching Chelsea play.
Yeah, I saw some guy called Gilchrist, and I was like, have I woken up in like 2005, like prime Australia in the Ashes? Like, what is he doing on the bench? Like, I was so confused. But yeah, no, with Chelsea, I get the they say lots of injuries. Don't get me wrong. Like, and I was having a back and forth with some Chelsea fans on one of my older clips when I was coming at Poch, like, what is he doing type of thing. And they were like, we've got injuries.
Had a full preseason.
Yeah, they have had injuries, don't get me wrong. But wasn't the whole point of all this spending to have not just a first 11, but a squad, like a squad as well? But it's not even, like, let's not scapegoat the bench as like a thing. Yeah, that is, it was a you had your £105 million signing playing. You had your 35 to 40 million pound striker playing. You had your 90 million pound Mudryk playing. You had your, don't get me wrong, I don't know how much they spent on Sterling last season, but you had him playing. You had Levi Colwill, apparently best young defender in the world. Thiago Silva, apparently still Rolls Royce as a defender. Gusto, who they've been gassing up. Your new signing goalkeeper. These players all started. They're all there. So yeah, the bench was weak, but surely you've got enough in the locker there to beat Bournemouth. They've won one game all season now, Chelsea, and that's against bottom place Luton, who, honestly, I'm sure if I put together an 11-a-side team, we could probably beat them at this rate.
The last time they won against a top half team in the Premier League was West Ham 531 days ago, and that is a joke. There are problems which are so much bigger than just what is happening on the pitch here. I think one of the things I saw in their game against Bournemouth was that they don't have a leader. Why was Conor Gallagher captain when Thiago Silva is right there?
Yeah, that's really, really baffled me. I was having another go because I was like, on that Chelsea clip I did, I was like, and Reece James as your captain, Chilwell as your vice captain. Reece James injured. This is 5 games in the season. Reece James injured. Chilwell dropped. Why is it then going to Gallagher? You actually said you have Thiago Silva, but yeah,
has he been at the club the longest? Is that what they've done?
Yeah, I genuinely think so. That is how he was about to leave in the summer.
He was going to come to us.
Yeah,
it was going to be a deadline day buy for us.
Like it's just like, what is going on there? Like it's just like on and off the pitch. Like someone made a joke the other day, like Putin has genuinely ended Chelsea.
Yeah, he has.
Because it just seemed they go on about this strategy. What is the strategy? Like, you've got no balance of God. Everyone's youngsters. The only old head there is Thiago Silva. You're not giving him the leadership role that he probably should have. And then you're just not inspiring at all. And you've got multi-million pound players on the pitch. And some of them...
Palmer came on, like...
Yeah. And some of them inside the season. But Enzo's been there since January now. I read a stat that McAllister, obviously his Argentinian compatriot, has played however many games less, has now got more wins than Enzo has for Chelsea in 5 games. And Enzo's been there since January. So yeah, Chelsea fans, like, you can gas up your transfers all you want. They don't seem to be working.
That's the only thing which makes Chelsea fans happy. Like, they're like, oh, we won the transfer window. Cool,
I don't think they have. And come there, Caicedo and Lavia, where the hell were they?
Caicedo wasn't even in the squad.
Yeah, they're both injured. It says that club is rotting at the moment. And honestly, like, Poch will be given a bit of time, but the same way.
Please don't get sacked before we play you, because I've got plans for the 6th of November, Monday Night Football. I hope he's still there.
I reckon he'll still be there, but it's looking eerily similar to what happened with Potter. Like, started like some positive signs, and then just poor result after poor result after poor result, and then who knows what could happen. So yeah. Now we can get on to what we were talking about. Premier League preview. There's one game on everyone's lips this weekend, and
the North London derby, arguably, was one of the biggest derbies in world football. Definitely like top 3 in the Prem.
Are we going by derby in terms of like actually like locational derby or rivalry?
Both.
So rivalry wise, there's obviously El Clasico, and there's Liverpool Man U, and
then I say the second biggest derby,
Rangers Celtic, Milan derby.
Second biggest derby in the Premier League is Tottenham Arsenal.
Yes,
Yes.
After Liverpool rivalry, yes.
Yeah.
And
So
in terms
Liverpool
of
United first.
yeah, but in terms of derby, I think it's the biggest derby in English football.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fixture which I look forward to because it's like, actually, no, I lie. It's a fixture I've not looked forward to in the last 2 years because the way that Arsenal have been playing, I've always been worried that we are going to get battered, especially at the Emirates. I'm absolutely terrified. I've been giving it the big in on Twitter, like, I'm ready to humble Arsenal, like, bring me Arsenal right now and we're going to show them what Tottenham are about. But realistically, for those 90 minutes, I'm going to be sat there really, really worried because I know our track record. I know what our form is like against Arsenal. And I'm not too sure, but I'm very, very excited because I think, like we were saying earlier, this is Ange Postecoglou's first big test. The game, we had the second easiest first 5 games of the Premier League. And I think the way that Ange will have to kind of deal with, Arteta's going to make changes. Ange is going to have to try and match those changes, change his tactics of like, who's going to start in our front 3? Like, is it going to be Son, Kulu? Like, is Johnson going to start? I'm just excited to see. Not bad problems to have, but I'm just excited to see how we approach this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I'm really, really excited for it. Like, this is a test because not since Pochettino, maybe Conte's first season as well, you look somewhat decent. I thought like, damn, like Tottenham could be like a threat again because it's not even just what's going on like the results on the pitch. There just seems to be a collective like unity. Like everyone seems happy. Like the celebrations, like people were mocking you guys for what you did after the Sheffield United game. But something happened very similar with us against West Brom when we were celebrated a draw. Then Jurgen Klopp went on to make one of the greatest dynasties in English football, like in terms of like winning every trophy, like obviously the epic battles with City. So I'm all for it. I don't, but then it's Arsenal as well. Like, I mean, Arsenal obviously so close to winning the title last season. Yeah, they perhaps haven't started as convincingly as they did last season, but still level on points.
This is the thing, right? Like, people have been drawing comparisons. Which season did you guys win the title? 21?
1920.
1920. So I'd arguably like 18-19, the year you guys won the Champions League, you played more exciting football and you didn't win the Prem. But the season after, you could grind out those results and you weren't playing the prettiest football, but you won the league.
I see that.
And you could make that comparison that last year, Arsenal were the most exciting team to watch in the Prem. I would sit there and feel like quite jealous of the way that Arsenal had that cohesiveness and that it was like no one would make a misplaced pass. Everyone would know who's going to make the run and the goals would just be so clean. And this season, they've not been the most exciting to watch. I'd say arguably like Brighton have been the most exciting to watch, or Tottenham even.
Yeah.
But that's just my bias.
No,
I
agree.
I think they've just got a little bit more like, even if it's a really good thing of like the game that has just been played against Everton. Playing at Goodison Park is not an easy feat. Like,
I haven't won there since Wenger.
Yeah, and
but until now,
they grinded out that result, and it's not. I was sort of like, Everton could have got a point, but those are the points that win you titles. And yeah, Arsenal at the Emirates against Tottenham, who are like, we're like the underdogs, but I don't know how we perform there. But like you said, I'm very, very, very excited.
Yeah, you want to give a prediction?
I think it's going to. I think it's going to be 2-2.
Okay, I'm torn between a 2-2 and a 2-1 Arsenal, but because you've gone 2-2, I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
Really?
I think it's going to be a tight game regardless.
Yeah.
I can't see a blowout either side. I'm just struggling to conceptualize in my head Spurs winning at the Emirates.
We won't win at the Emirates. The last 2 games that we played at the Emirates ended 3-0. Like,
but I can very much see a draw. But then I can also, like you said, Arsenal they seem a more like a down and dirty with it type of side this season. Even with the United stuff, they went from potentially going 2-1 down with that Garnacho offside goal to winning 3-1, winning against Everton for the first time since Wenger. Just like some, and beating even Community Shield, taking City to penalties, scoring, equalising last minute. So yeah, I'd go 2-1. I can see it being 1-1 and then maybe Arsenal grabbing a late one in the last 20 minutes. But either way, it's going to be a class game.
It's going to be a class game, but I think Martinelli might be out. I mean, he went off quite early, like 23rd minute or something like that against Everton, and they've got PSV midweek Champions League.
And you've got no that's a big factor. Yeah. That is a big factor. The only thing I'm thinking is also, if you were to lose, like I hope it doesn't then derail your, because this is where stuff starts happening, where Spurs can get Spursy, if you think the term.
Nice. I
like,
think,
do you get what I mean? Like, I hope even if you do lose, that it doesn't then deflate you and you start, because right now you're on such a high. Do you get what I mean?
So we've not spoken since Tottenham have gone crashing out the Carabao Cup, like on camera, and that was painful. And that's when I kind of thought, it's a mentality thing. Like,
it's just a honeymoon and it's already finished.
Exactly. And it was sort of like that game fully lied on Ange's mistakes, because he started to complete second string 11.
Yeah, when you guys were pretty keen on going for a cup this season.
And I thought that was coming back of the first two games, we're playing Fulham, like early round of the Carabao Cup, should have easily beaten them, and we lost on penalties. That's not great for players to experience really early on in the season. Came back, dashed Burnley. So it's a tricky thing, but I you're so right. Like, there's such a positive vibe around the club right now. All the players are just like, I feel like they're friends, and not just by force. I think a huge part of that lies with Heung-min Son being our captain. I think Kane leaving, obviously, the start of our season could have been massively overshadowed by that. But the way that Son has stepped in, taken responsibility, even like that celebration you were saying, when we did that sort of like run up to the fans, it was right in front of me. I had tears in my eyes. He like pushed Richarlison to the front, like, this is your achievement, like goal and assist, especially after the week that he's had. Absolutely loving that for him. So yeah, I think we go in as the underdogs. I'm predicting a 2-2, but it will be a very, very tight game.
Fair enough. Obviously, that's the highlight, but there are some other Premier League games on this weekend.
Some
other ones. I mean, I guess the other pick of the bunch is obviously Liverpool, West Ham and Chelsea Villa, but we'll go through some quick-fire predictions.
Yeah.
Palace Fulham.
1-1.
I'm going to go 2-all. Luton at home to Wolves.
Wolves 2-1.
I'm going to go 2-1, well, 3-1. I can't be the same as you, so you're predicting everyone of it. City at home to Forest.
5-0.
I'm going to go 4-1.
Okay.
Brentford at home to Everton.
2-1 to Brentford.
I'm going to go 3-0 Brentford. Burnley at home to United.
Ooh,
that's good. Yeah,
that's a good game.
That could be I can sense a little Barclays shocker on the cards.
I'm going 2-1 to Burnley.
I'm going to go 1-all.
Okay.
We've done our Spurs, Tottenham. Sorry, Arsenal, Spurs. Brighton at home to Bournemouth.
Oh, that's another good game. I'm going 3-1 to Brighton.
I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton. Chelsea at home to Villa.
Chelsea are due a win. I'd say 3-1 to Chelsea.
I'm going 2-1 Villa.
Really?
I think I sense a little Emery masterclass on the cards.
Okay.
Liverpool at home to West Ham.
4-1 to you.
I'm going to go 3-1. And then Sheffield United at home to Newcastle.
3-1 to Newcastle.
I'm going 2-0 Newcastle.
I think, just before we move on from the Premier League, is there a conversation to be had that we are witnessing some of the worst sides that we've ever seen in the Premier League? So obviously, statistically, the worst side that has graced the Premier League was Derby County, 07-08 season. They got 11 points. They won one game. They scored 20 and conceded 89.
Yeah.
So that's their official stats. And I don't want to include Burnley in it, but we'll include them newly promoted. Burnley, Sheffield, Everton, Luton. Do we think that we are seeing some of the worst football that has graced the Premier League?
I think it could, yeah. So in terms of sole worst team, I think there's been worse. Maybe actually, Luton could do worse than Derby. But in terms of a group of worst teams, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm trying to think with it. There was a time when Wigan were about when doing quite badly towards the end, but then they did win an FA Cup this season when they go down. So yeah, you might be right. Like the worst collection of like 3 or 4, but then there's so many other than up the table. Then there's like you have your traditional top 6, but then you have your Brighton, Brentford, Newcastle, Villa. So then equally, like even though it's I'm shitty down there, then there are like probably more than the challenges to like the European places and the league that there's ever been. So I feel like it offsets.
Yeah, it came to my mind because I was like, teams would approach games against these other teams and be like, yeah, this is a win. Like I can start my second.
Yeah, true. I see that on fantasy football. Like anytime anyone's playing Burnley, Sheffield, or Luton now, like I fully back them.
Stat pad, like your players.
Like yeah, like I think Newcastle got Sheffield and then Burnley next. I brought Trippier in because I was like, there's 2 bankers there. At least.
This question came to me because Luton tweeted like through thick and thin. Like
yeah, I saw like already, and I was like accepting
relegation after like 4 games is insane. And I do think like the reality of it is they kind of know, which is really sad. It just shows the quality of the other teams in the Premier League, that when teams do come up from the Championship and they're not like these big teams that have just like, you know, dropped down for a season, it's very, very tricky for them. But yeah, be interesting to see how their seasons do turn out in the end.
Yeah. Well, the segment we did last time when we were on our remote podcast, Start Bench Sell, came back with quite positive reviews actually. So we're going to bring back another iteration of it. This time, well, I've gone for kind of all time, like not just current players, or like, have you gone similar?
I've gone not just current players, but some current.
Okay, fine. So yeah, we've decided to change it up a little bit. So do you want me to start by leveling mine? So, okay, let me put my caveat in. So this is Start Bench Sell. This is them when they were at their Premier League club only.
Okay.
So what they did at other competitions counts, but only when they were at that said club.
Okay.
Salah.
Okay.
Hazard.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo.
Okay.
So this is Premier League. So I'll give you context. So Ronaldo is there from 03-04 to 08-09.
Give me his prime season.
His prime season was 07-08, where he won Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
Premier League, Champions League double.
Hazard's prime, I say 2017.
Hazard's prime, yeah, roughly.
The season when they won the title with Conte.
Yes, title with Conte, title with Mourinho. Statistically, I think his best season was actually the season when they won Europa League, which was his last season before he went.
Okay, yeah.
But in terms of what you probably count prime Hazard, yeah, it was Conte and all that.
And then Salah's
prime was technically his first season where he was second or third in Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
But then obviously he's put up consistent numbers. 22, the season we were going for the quad, he put up ridiculous numbers as well, and obviously the cup double. And then obviously every other season has been like 20 plus goals as well. So.
I've seen what you've done there. You didn't put Gareth Bale in because you knew what would sway me there.
So I didn't put Bale in because I genuinely, if you're on Premier League, I think he's easily a sell.
His prime wasn't at Spurs.
I'd say like his beginning of his prime was at Spurs, but like it was literally just a season or 2. Whereas everyone else on this list has at least 3 quality seasons. I'd say Ronaldo has 06, 07, 07, 08, 08, 09, 100%. I think Salah has every season since he's been at Liverpool, and Hazard's had every season at Chelsea, bar the one where he scored like 1 goal or something. Okay.
Initial thoughts. I think I'm quite biased towards Salah because he's the one who's in my face for the last couple of seasons. So I recognise I have mad recency bias. I've been called up on it a lot of times, but like for me, it's like Salah. But growing up, I was so, like, I remember growing up and Ronaldo, only Ballon d'Or winner on that list. I've got a lot of United fans as friends as well. So I always get like sent comps of Ronaldo at United. So I'm going to have to say I'd start Ronaldo.
Okay.
I'd bench Salah and I'd sell Hazard, but I know that I'd start Ronaldo. That's my definite. The only reason why I'm thinking between Salah and Hazard is that I've seen Hazard as a super sub, impact sub, comes on with flair. I think Salah to change a game.
But I think, but this is the thing for me. It's like when you're saying sub, I don't think it's meant to be like
so
literally
it's like your
a sub.
second choice,
It's like it's like who?
Like
It's like a
ranking
1, 2, 3. It's a
3.
fancy way of saying
then easy Salah.
Yeah,
I'd go Ronaldo, then Salah, and then sell Hazard. Yeah, that's my order.
I would swap Salah and Ronaldo just because obviously if you're taking their whole careers into account, obviously Ronaldo's top of that list. But for me, Salah in the Premier League, like he's won everything while he's been at Liverpool. Never had a bad season, like, and his absolute peak where he had the Premier League goal scoring record at one point. If we didn't have like a financially doping Man City, he would probably have another 2 league titles to his name. He's also been to 2 other Champions League finals apart from that as well, and just multiple golden boots, player of the season awards. Just he's done it all, like literally done it all, and consistent across. I think with Ronaldo, yes, he probably had the best single season out of all of them because he scored 30 plus.
That's what I mean. I'm thinking of Ronaldo in his prime, but
his Man U time also does include that 03, 04, 05, 04, 05, 05, 06, which were like
not even
like
United.
teething period.
Yeah.
And then his back 3, whereas Salah was like
Instant.
6, 7 seasons. This is why I said Premier League, because obviously if you're counting career wise, then it's Ronaldo, but like Salah's had straight heat for like 6, 7 seasons.
Yeah, I think.
And then Hazard, obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm not like type of Liverpool fan to be like just disrespect him, because even though I think Salah's better. Hazard on his day, like top quality, love watching him, but his numbers don't stack up.
Not in the same conversation as Ronaldo and Salah.
Yeah, his numbers don't stack up. He had the off season. And I just don't, and I think Salah's just been way more consistent. And yeah, I know we're not counting it, but like just look at what Salah's still doing at 31 and look what Hazard's doing at 31.
I don't think it's wild to come to that conclusion as well. I just saying, like, hands up, I've watched a lot more football with Salah than I ever did of Ronaldo. Like when he won the Ballon d'Or, I was 7. I couldn't appreciate the beauty of football that we were witnessing there. Whereas I can see Salah now with all my more football, ball knowledge, and I can understand that he is like, if not one of the greatest wingers we've ever seen.
And the other thing that would go wide sway also is like, don't get me wrong, again, both of them, both playmakers, but people just stereotype Salah as just like a selfish kind of goal scorer. His playmaking is insane, like insane. Like he's got it, like in terms of his Premier League version of it, he's literally got it all. Like he could not have done any more. He's just come up against, again, like I said, a financially doping City and the greatest Champions League side of all time, who's beat him in 2 out of the 3 finals. Obviously, the other one was against you. Whereas Hazard, again, never did it in the Champions League with Chelsea, never even took him to a final. Ronaldo, again, I can see the argument, but like I said, that first 3 seasons is only half of his United career where he was at that level. So yeah.
Yeah.
But I respect like your opinion as well, obviously. What have you got for me?
Okay, I'm going right backs.
Oh no.
I'm going right backs. And okay, so I'm going Kyle Walker.
Okay.
Across his whole time in the Prem.
Okay.
Nev.
Of course, yeah.
And Trent once he finishes his career.
I don't think you can. This is not, because it's not a level playing field.
Why is it not a level playing field?
Because you don't know what's gonna. Trent could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Obviously,
think about what he's achieved right now and include his age. Instead of
either go 3 right backs on all time, or because Walker isn't Gary Neville's friend, or because Walker's
okay, fine. Don't think about it as like, think about their ability as a right back, and that's including going forward and defensively.
Their ability. So okay, so rethink the.
Okay, so I want you to rank it like 1, 2, 3. Gary Neville, Kyle Walker, and Trent.
On where they're going to finish their careers?
No, just on their ability as a footballer in their position as right back.
I would start Trent. I would bench Walker, and I would sell Neville. Just because if you're talking all-round right back, like your traditional definition of a right back, Kyle Walker's the best on that list. Good going forward, good, excellent defensively as well. But the definition of what a right back has changed since Neville was playing. And Neville, again, all-timer, like great right back, great partnership with Beckham. But I think Walker's a better version of Neville in that sense. But Neville he's just more upgraded, but they're still in that same mold of like a balanced fullback. You can't level at Trent what he can do is what neither of them can do, and what most players can't do, which is literally be like the prime creator in a side that's won everything.
Yeah, so like for a team that you were going to put together.
Oh, for a team I've got put together 100% Trent over the other two, because his flaw, and again, he's not as bad defensively as is made out. Like, you don't win all the trophies that we have done with him starting at right back by Trent being that rubbish. Van Dijk wasn't even on his side in his prime. He's had Matip or Gomez with him. So I don't think he's as bad as what's made out. And if I was building a side, I would put someone into him that would sweep up after him a little bit more than you would be needed with Walker or Neville, just because what he brings forward is ridiculous. Every season, every game, he's playing some ridiculous, like, not even just, people think he's a cross merchant. Cross-field passes, crosses, through ball, first time, inside the foot, outside the foot, like, he's just like sensational what I've seen, and he's only 23. So I would build my team around him. If you was for a side that was that I didn't have control over, and maybe like someone like a manager like Southgate, I can understand why Southgate picks Walker, because he's not as, and we'll touch on this later, he's not as astute to like set up a system. Because honestly, if you ask, and I'm saying this, I think if you ask Pep Guardiola who he would take out of those three, like if you were to build his side, considering how much he got out of Cancelo and all that, obviously then he'd make the left side more. He'd take Trent in a heartbeat. Like,
you're not wrong. I do think Trent would suit that style of play brilliantly, and you're so right. Like, what he looks for in a fullback, Trent fits that.
It's all about taste. For me, it's honestly like,
it's like what kind of manager you are and what kind of football you want to play.
Yeah, like the fullback position for such a long time was just very like monolithic. Like, they all came in the same shape and form, like defend and be able to attack a bit. But it's now as kind of like versatile in definition as is like how you get different central midfielders. It's like you're trying to compare like Yaya Toure to David Silva. Like, they're both central midfielders or can play cam or CM, but they're completely different players. And I think a fullback has those variances now, and so I would build a system around him, but I would take Trent over Walker and Neville any day. And then I think out of Walker and Neville, similar mold, more balanced fullbacks, I'd take Walker. I just think he's more attuned to the modern version of football now. But that's not dissuading Gary Neville, like excellent, like all-timer as well. Like, I had Gary Neville in my all-time Premier League 11 for like years. I'd probably switch that to Walker now, and it'd probably switch to Trent when Trent's career is done.
Yeah, so I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, for me, I agreed with selling G-Nev. And again, no disrespect to him whatsoever. The style of, like, if I was to put together my 11, it would be between Walker and Trent. And just so I can have that little bit more assurance defensively, I'd put Kyle Walker.
Yeah, you'd start a more creative midfield, right? Instead, like with Trent, he was allowed to be the more outlet, because in our prime, we had a midfield of Henderson, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum or Milner.
Yeah.
Very rarely did they contribute to goals or assists. They would provide that stability and allow Trent to do his thing. And we thrived because of it. Trent, like, ridiculous amount. He's the second highest assist maker in Premier League history. And that's only after his teammate Robertson, who's about 6 years older than him. So, yeah, I don't think his strengths get appreciated enough, but that would be my order. But I get yours as well. Like, I get why someone would pick Walker more because of the Nate style of player.
Yeah.
So, very good. Nice start bench cells. I like that. Our last segment for today is... You want to say it, or should I say it?
You can say it.
I think you said it last time.
Yeah, I did.
Round the Wall presents Round the World.
I love it. Every time you bring it up. Brilliant wordplay, that.
So, I think it's only fair that we cover the international break, which happened, which is probably why we were absent for a bit longer. England faced Ukraine, draw, and then beat Scotland quite convincingly. But as in aftermath, in between the two fixtures, again, the usual debate erupted. Is Southgate the right man to lead England?
Absolutely not. Okay, we've only got a couple months before the Euros, and the guy does not know his best 11. He argues that he can't play Foden in certain positions because he doesn't play there for City. Why did we see Kieran Trippier start as a left back? When have we ever seen him play in that position at Newcastle and thrive? If you're going to change up players' positions and you're going to come up with an argument for one way, then stick with it and don't be a hypocrite. We have put Southgate in charge. You know what he's done for England. He's done wonders. He's taken us World Cup semi-final. He's taken us Euros final, and you know he's made some questionable decisions. For example, like bringing on those players for the penalties, whatever. You know I think what he did, he got us as like an England fan base and the players to have like better engagement, more unison. I've seen more people supporting England in these international tournaments than I ever have growing up. And that's been great. But I think there comes a point where this is his peak. And to waste this golden generation of players on a manager who doesn't really know what he's doing would be such a shame.
I would echo the same sentiments. I think I've actually been way more supportive of Southgate than the general like fan who just lashes out after a ring. Look at his record. We've sailed through qualifying all like every single time, and most times even coming out of it unbeaten or even with a 100% record. He's taken us from in 2018 first tournament semi-final, 2020 whatever 21 Euros final.
Yeah.
Last year we went out quarterfinals to eventual finalist France and widely tipped to be one of the favourites for tournament France, and we were a Harry Kane penalty kick away from maybe taking to extra time, and who knows what could have happened. I've obviously grown up supporting England all my life. Like when I grew up, like 06 golden generation, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes out to Portugal in the quarter, and we didn't play well like at all. Like missed out on the 08 Euros, didn't even qualify.
Yeah. 2010
World Cup, one of the worst England performances ever. Like Rooney swearing at the camera, getting absolutely walloped by Germany and getting sent home. 2012 Euros, don't even get me started. Going out to, that was the one where we went out to Iceland? No.
That was,
no, we went out to Italy in that one. Lost on penalties to Italy. Again, out. I think it was like the first knockout round. 16, Iceland. We have a thing in this country, and the last time we've ever reached anything major was Euro 96, where we got to the semis, and that was again on our home turf where we're expected to do better. We have like a superiority complex in this country that we expect to bet. We have to go on our record. England have never had a consistent period of success since we won the World Cup. He has brought that back in. Like I count it as I remember when growing up, like people don't really care about England that much. Like now, like not even just people who watch football, like everyone gets behind England in the World Cup. Like the pubs are falling out. He's brought that back. But I do agree with your point that I think he has brought it to the furthest point he can now. He should be given this last Euros. Now, if he loses, he should definitely go. If he wins, then the debate will open up again, because it's like, how can you sack a winning manager? But I would even argue, even if he wins, he should go with his head held high, because I think he's also brought this generation through, like your Fodens, your even Kanes, he's brought all of these players up, and now give it to someone who can take it from that level even higher, like a world class, proven manager.
Who's there available?
So I would immediately steer away from going for an English manager, because there are no good ones bar Eddie Howe, and even I don't think he'd do a better job than, personally, I don't think he'd do a better job than Southgate, because he's not got a winning record either. If you're going to level at Southgate, he's not a winner, or Howe won, even though he is a good manager. It would have to be I'm not saying Pep's going to go, but like it'd have to be like that level of like a Tuchel or a thing. Tuchel could be a shout. I don't know, but I don't know whether he'd leave Bayern. I haven't thought that hard about replacement, but you need someone who's like a proven manager.
Shouts of like Potter, go manage England. How is that an improvement on Southgate?
I think the best bet would be an international, like a foreign manager who's got a proven record in club football, but who's also managed in England. so that he knows like the players, the culture, like that kind of thing. So I'm thinking, again, this is dependent on whether they get sacked or if they leave, whatever. The likes of Poch, Tuchel, Klopp,
Poch
Pep.
was one of my like first choices.
Like that would be the only route I can go, because going down the English route now would just be, I can't see that having any benefit. But that's the other thing as well. Like people clamour for him to go, but like who is going to come in?
And realistically, it's too short of a time frame now before the Euros to make any drastic decisions, because they'd have to implement their own style of play. We've got so many international.
He shouldn't 100%. He shouldn't go before the Euros. Give him the tournament and go. I think hand in hand with this thing that about him like taking as far as we can go is that he does have. He's a very safe manager.
No, but he also starts players who don't even start for their club.
No,
like
yeah.
Calvin Phillips getting minutes ahead of like.
But we are, I agree, but we are also really like understaffed in that central midfield position. Like in terms of like that kind of player. Like we have Rice, Phillips, Henderson. That's it. Like in terms of like a more secure central midfielder.
Okay.
With the Maguire's had a very good record for England. And yeah, now it's probably getting to a time where it's like, okay, like he's genuinely like not even playing for his club at all. So you could consider it. But up till now, I haven't been angry at Maguire playing.
I haven't been angry at Maguire
because he's always had like great tournaments for England.
I think also like
a bit team of the tournament, I think, at the Euros.
A lot of like the fans' treatment towards Maguire is also massively like it's not needed at all. Like the personal attacks on football players, not great. I'm all for like you can critique the style of play, and if they've not had a good game, call them up on it. But like going after players personally, really, really poor. They're human beings at the end of the day. So I'm always there to call people out on it on Twitter as well. Yeah,
no, I agree as well. I think it's gone a bit step too far now. But he should have taken that West Ham move. I think staying at United has just not helped anyone. Like he would have had a fresh start there. Their style of football is perfect for the type of footballer he is. Like, and they're thriving in that way. Like low block, counter attack. He's a good box defender. I've always said that. He's just not as good when you're playing a high line or expecting to kind of play it out. But so I think we both kind of agree then, isn't it? Kind of keep him to the Euros and then see.
Yeah, well, we've got lots more opportunities to see how his teams are playing. We've got another international break in October, another one in November. So looking forward to also seeing him like rotate a little bit more. Just shout out Jude Bellingham, absolutely loving it in Madrid, absolutely thriving. Great to see an Englishman thriving in like such a big team like Madrid. It's bringing back the memories of when we were kids, you know, like Beckham and all of that. But like you said, just keep him to the Euro, see how he goes, then consider your options after that.
Yeah. And while we're on the round the world bit, we have not forgotten about the Champions League, don't worry. By the time this episode comes out, I think me and Davina would both have put out a video each on our group stage predictions, who think the winner is going to be, top goal scorer, etc., etc. So watch out for that, and we will cover the Champions League as it progresses. Obviously, just because it hasn't started yet, we wanted to do that, give it its own dedicated section on a clip, and then we'll follow it as the podcast goes on.
So that's it for today. We always ask you this, but we've been loving your support on all of our socials, and if you haven't already, we're on Instagram or on Twitter, x.com, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts coming soon. So hopefully that'll be fixed by the time this episode comes out. And
thank you.